Turkish Airlines has a great reputation, especially when it comes to their long-haul economy product and their catering. But are they really that good? Well, let's take a flight on their Airbus A330 and find out. Good afternoon guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are flying Turkish Airlines in economy from Brussels, Belgium to Istanbul. And the interesting thing about this flight is that they are using an Airbus A330, which is a long-haul plane, but the flight is only 3 hours. And yeah, I have flown Turkish 15 times in the past on long and short journeys, both in business and economy. And I have to say that I was always very satisfied. So yeah, let's head to the airport and find out if today will be any different. Alright then, welcome to Brussels Airport, also called Brussels National or Zaventem Airport. The current single terminal structure dates from 1994 and today attracts over 26 million passengers per year. The airport is located in the town of Zaventem, around 12 kilometers northeast of central Brussels. Underneath the terminal, you'll find a train station with direct connections to various stations in Brussels, as well as other Belgian cities like Leuven and Liège. The closest major train station is Brussels North, which you can reach in 15 minutes from the airport. The ticket will set you back about 10 euros. My flight today is Turkish Airlines TK1940, departing Brussels at 7 p.m. and arriving in Istanbul at 11:20 p.m. local time. I don't have any bags to check in, so let's proceed straight to security and passport control. The checks ended up taking about half an hour because there were only 2 security lines for hundreds of passengers. Anyways, we are now at the departure area, which is pretty dull and uninspiring. Apart from a duty-free shop, there are a handful of snack bars and a convenience store, but not much else. BRU only has 1 terminal, but it is separated into 2 piers, A and B. We are in Pier B right now, which is where the majority of non-Schengen flights depart from. Because Brussels Airport has a lot more European than non-European traffic, this pier is smaller and has fewer facilities than Pier A. Luckily, it isn't all that crowded and there are plenty of comfortable couches and spaces to work with a laptop. The Wi-Fi was also decent. So yeah, overall, BRU is pretty average. Not particularly good, but not terrible either. The prices for food and beverages are very high though, even by airport standards. As we are waiting at the gate, let's talk a bit about Turkish, one of the largest airlines in the world. With over 270 destinations in 126 countries, Turkish flies to more places than any other airline. The airline is a member of Star Alliance and has a fleet of 365 planes at the time of making this video. They have won many awards in the last few years and are generally seen as a beacon of consistency when it comes to the quality of their service and products. The A330 is their main wide-body aircraft, but they also have plenty of 777s and newer A350s. And here's my ride to Istanbul, an 8-year-old Airbus A330-300. Turkish has 36 of those, and they generally use them on long-haul routes. It just flew in from Istanbul and arrived at the gate around 1 hour before it was scheduled to return to the Turkish megacity. I chose this flight specifically because it is operated by an A330. On most European routes, Turkish uses A320s, A321s or 737 Maxes. But if you fly long haul on Turkish, you're very likely to get an A330 with the configuration that I am about to show. We started boarding a bit late, around half an hour before departure. This plane has 28 seats in business class and 261 in economy. The economy section is in a 242 layout. And here's my seat, 28 kilo. The legroom is good, and there is a seat back pocket, a tray table, and a personal entertainment screen. Universal power outlets and USB charging points are also present. A pillow was already waiting at the seat, whereas blankets and headphones were available upon request. Turkish also provides amenity kits with a toothbrush, an ear mask and some creams on longer economy journeys. This being a 3-hour flight, no amenity kits were available, but I wanted to mention them anyways because not many airlines hand these out in economy. The headrests are really comfortable and they move both horizontally and vertically. I also wanted to underline that this 8-year-old plane was in immaculate condition and spotlessly clean, despite the fact that it had just flown in from Istanbul. The safety video came on and we taxied out to the runway. As a result of boarding a bit late, we departed with a delay of 17 minutes. Right after reaching cruising altitude, the service sprang into action, and it's here where Turkish demonstrates its European dominance. They won the Skytrax Award for Best Airline in Europe several years in a row, and in this instance I tend to agree. While Skytrax Awards aren't always reliable, I think that when it comes to European airlines, Turkish plays in a league of its own. There were 2 dinner options, vegetarian pasta and chicken with a Turkish börek-style omelette. I went for the chicken and it was amazing. In my humble opinion, you will not find an airline with better food on a 3-hour economy flight. For a non-business class meal at 30,000 feet, this is simply outstanding. The chicken was well cooked and savory, and the omelette tasted like straight out of a Turkish restaurant. The tomatoes and eggplant were also great. The meal came with some hummus and a dessert cake. Both were just as tasty as the rest, and I washed everything down with an FS beer. And finally, kudos for the metal cutlery, something that has become increasingly rare in economy. After the meal, it was time to have a look at the IFE, which is also fantastic. Turkish offers over 700 movies and series, as well as live TV and sports, including various European football leagues. You have so much choice, in fact, that I recommend checking the movie list on the website before flying. Otherwise, you'll spend an hour scrolling around before making a decision. There are also standard moving maps and a variety of games. Wi-Fi is available on board for an extra fee. Turkish Airlines members get a certain Wi-Fi allowance for free depending on their status. Just like the rest of the plane, the loo was spotlessly clean, and I love the fact that even in economy you get high-end soap and cologne. I watched a bit of Dan Brown's Inferno and the rest of the flight flew by. So, is there anything negative to say? Well, I could start nitpicking and criticize things like these ridiculously small plastic water recipients, but I am not gonna do that, because by and large, the experience was flawless, just like my previous 15 flights with Turkish. Their business class on the A330 isn't all that competitive, but this is an economy review, so it won't affect my rating. We were now in Turkish airspace and approaching Istanbul. After a little tour over Turkey's largest city, we landed at 11:17 p.m., 3 minutes ahead of schedule. The pilots had managed to cancel out our initial delay. The taxi at Istanbul Airport ended up taking over 20 minutes because this airport is simply massive. As we are seemingly taxiing forever, it's time to reveal the price. I actually bought this as an award flight through the Turkish Miles and Smiles program. The price was 15,000 miles plus 58 euros in taxes and 14 to reserve my window seat. The fare included 20 kilograms of checked luggage, which I didn't even use. The cash price would have been around 185 euros, which is quite reasonable considering that this is truly a full-service carrier and one of the best at that. So yeah, a top-notch experience with very few negative aspects. I am giving this flight a 9 out of 10. You can now see the criteria that I use to mark airlines. Feel free to pause the video if you are interested. And now we are embarking on the very long journey from the gate to the exit at Istanbul Airport. If you've ever flown in or out of here, you'll know that this airport is gigantic. After a 22-minute taxi to the gate, it took another 26 minutes to get out of the airport. And that's without having to wait for luggage or standing in a long immigration queue. Passport control in fact took no more than 5 minutes. The 48 minutes between landing and entering the country of Turkey were simply due to the airport's humongous size. So yeah, short layovers at Istanbul Airport are not a good idea. Now IST is located around 40 kilometers from the European banks of the Bosporus. As such, getting to the center can be a major headache and taxis are very expensive. But there is good news. Since late 2023, the airport is connected to Istanbul's metro system. As such, you can now take a train to Gayrettepe station on line 11 and then connect to other trains in central Istanbul. However, the metro only runs until midnight on weekdays, and by the time I got to the exit, it was 12:05, meaning that I had just missed the last train. Luckily, there is a second affordable and convenient option to get to the center, which is the Hava Ist bus, located underneath the arrivals section. Line 16 will take you to Taksim Square for 6 euros in about 1 hour, depending on traffic. And that is it for today. Let me know your opinion on Turkish Airlines. Do you agree with my rating, or do you think that Turkish aren't as good as people say? As always, thanks very much for coming along and see you again next time. Goodbye.